Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into the incredible story behind the AI that powers pretty much everything. It's a wild journey that starts with a forgotten dream and ends with a revolution that is changing our world right now.
So let's just start with the number, $44 million. Believe it or not, this is the figure that kicked off the modern AI race.
Back in 2012, all the big tech giants, we're talking Google, Microsoft, Baidu, they got into this frantic multi-day bidding war. So what were they fighting over? I mean, this wasn't for some fancy HQ or a long list of customers. Nope. They were bidding on a tiny startup that had, well, nothing. No products, no history. What on earth could possibly be worth that much? The answer is, they were buying an idea. A single revolutionary breakthrough laid out in just 9 pages. This paper proved that an old, almost forgotten theory about artificial intelligence was finally ready to change the world. That was the prize.
So to really get why this little paper was such a big deal, we gotta rewind the clock. Way back. We're talking the 1950s, when the very first spark of this idea was born.
Okay, so the first real attempt at a thinking machine was this thing called the Perceptron. And you gotta love the optimism back then. In 1958, the US Navy, who was footing the bill for this project, made this wild prediction. They said computers would one day walk, talk, see, write, and even be conscious of their own existence. And the Perceptron, that was supposed to be step 1. So how did it work? Well, its creator, a guy named Frank Rosenblatt, designed it to learn a lot like we do, through trial and error. It would look at something, make a guess, get told if it was right or wrong, and then, and this is the key part, it would adjust its own internal wiring, its neurons, to do better next time. And what's amazing is, it actually worked. This was proof that a machine could learn. But, the world just wasn't ready for this connectionist approach. The whole idea of letting a machine figure things out on its own just seemed messy, too complicated. So instead, most AI research went down a much simpler path called symbolic AI. And the idea there was pretty straightforward. You just give a computer a bunch of strict rules written by a human, and it follows them perfectly. And that idea, it dominated the field for decades. So for almost half a century, the dream of a machine that could actually learn was pretty much considered a dead end. But the idea wasn't totally gone. It was kept alive by just a handful of believers, working way out in the wilderness. And right at the heart of this little movement was this brilliant and incredibly stubborn British researcher named Geoff Hinton. He was just totally convinced that Rosenblatt had it right all along. The future wasn't about programming rules. It was about building systems that could learn all by themselves. And man, was the progress slow. It was this long, painstaking process, but you'd see these little flashes of success. Back in the 80s, Hinton's developing new theories, and at the same time, a neural network called Alvin learns how to drive a truck down a highway. Then in the 90s, another one, LeNet, built by his protege Yann LeCun, is reading millions of handwritten checks. These were cool for sure, but they were small, very specific victories. So here's the crucial point. The ideas themselves were solid. The math was there, concepts like back propagation that let these networks learn efficiently, they were being worked on. The problem was the hardware. The technology just hadn't caught up. It was kind of like trying to build a spaceship with a lawnmower engine. You just didn't have the horsepower. Okay, now let's fast forward. We're jumping to the early 2010s, where a massive, world-changing breakthrough is right around the corner. After decades of being on the sidelines, everything was about to fall into place perfectly. And it all came down to 3 key ingredients coming together at the exact same moment. First, you've got the video game industry, which had accidentally created these incredibly powerful computer chips, GPUs. Second, the internet gave us this huge library of data, literally billions of images and texts for a machine to learn from. And third, those algorithms that Hinton and his crew had been perfecting for decades were finally ready for prime time. So, Hinton and his 2 brilliant students, Krizhevsky and Ilya Sutskever, they mix these ingredients together and build a neural network they call AlexNet. They enter it into the world's biggest computer vision competition, and it doesn't just win, it absolutely demolishes the competition. I mean, look at that error rate. It was nearly half of the next best system. This sent total shockwaves through the entire field. And that brings us right back to where we started.
That 9-page paper wasn't just some boring research document, it was a treasure map. It showed the entire tech world that the forgotten dream from the 1950s wasn't just possible, it was here, and it worked way better than anyone could have ever imagined. So Google ends up winning that $44 million auction. They bring Hinton and his team on board, and the second they do, the great AI race is officially on. It was like a frenzy. All of a sudden, every major tech company was scrambling to build their own world-class AI lab. They were poaching the top researchers from universities, throwing salaries in the millions at them. Facebook snatched up Hinton's protege Yann LeCun to run their lab. Microsoft, who had totally backed the wrong horse with symbolic AI, was now playing this desperate game of catch-up. And you even had new players like OpenAI pop up, founded with this grand mission of making sure AI benefited all of humanity. The competition got fierce, and it led to some mind-blowing results. The most famous one, of course, was when Google's AlphaGo played the world's greatest Go master. At this really critical moment in the game, the AI makes move 37, a move so out of left field, so creative, that all the human experts thought it was a stupid mistake. But it wasn't. It turned out to be this brilliant, game-winning play that no human would have ever come up with. It felt almost alien. But here's the thing. This explosion of progress wasn't just creating cool new products and amazing game-playing machines. It was also creating a whole new set of really complex and honestly pretty dangerous problems. Take this idea of generative adversarial networks, or GANs, from a researcher named Ian Goodfellow. He basically created a system where two AIs fight each other. One, the generator, tries to create fake images, while the other, the discriminator, tries to spot the fakes. They do this millions of times, and they get unbelievably good at it. This leads to incredible creative tools. But it also gave us deepfakes, which can be so realistic they're impossible to tell apart from reality. And just like that, the whole industry stumbled into an ethical minefield. You had AI systems trained on biased data from the internet doing really harmful things, like a photo service labeling pictures of Black people as gorillas. The military started using this tech to help identify targets for drone strikes, which led to a massive employee revolt at Google. And the early hope that AI could fix online misinformation, that turned out to be a complete fantasy. This tension really boiled over in this now famous argument between two of tech's biggest titans. On one side, you had Google's Larry Page, the ultimate optimist, dreaming of a digital utopia. And on the other, you had Elon Musk, warning that AI could be an existential threat to all of us. Page apparently called Musk a speciesist for, unfairly favoring humans over this new form of digital life. All of a sudden, this wasn't some academic debate anymore. This was real. And really, that's the crucial takeaway here. An idea that was born back in the 1950s, kept alive by just a few true believers, has finally exploded into our lives. It's not a question of if AI is going to change our world anymore. It's happening right now. The revolution has begun. And it forces all of us to ask, where is it taking us?